Hello everyone and welcome to today's video, and in this video we'll be making an amazing weather app using an API of Open Weather API. And what that does is inside this you can just search for a location, let's say Delhi, and if you search for Delhi you'll get the location, the temperature and the wind speed, and along with it you'll also be getting an icon. So let's make this. Okay, let's make this. So first what I'm going to do is I have an empty folder here. Inside VS Code I have an empty folder open, and right now I just create an index.html file, and I'll also create style.css and JavaScript file. So style.css, and I'll also create an app.js file. So inside this HTML file I'm going to paste all the code. Inside this HTML, what I'll do is just hold shift and 1, and I'll get this exclamation mark and press enter, so I'll get the boilerplate. Let's name this weather D, and inside this HTML what I'm going to do is go to this code pen. I'll drop the link to this code pen in the description down below, copy all the HTML file, all the tags, and what I'll do is just go here and paste everything. So now if I save it, and what I'm going to do is open this up with a live server. So live server is basically an extension which you can get in VS Code. So go inside this extensions tab, search for live server, and you'll get this live server extension. Install this. What that thing does is basically it live reloads your website, so you don't have to reload again and again when you save. So after you install this extension, you can just right click anywhere in this window and click on open with live server. You'll have your live server opened up. So we have a live server opened up. What we need to do is style everything. So let's style it up. I have my HTML set up. Next thing I'm going to do is link up my CSS file. So just before title I'll say link and press enter, and inside href I'll link my CSS file. So I have my CSS file here, and what I'm going to do is start styling it. So initially I'll remove all these things, all these default styling, so I'll paste it up here. So what this thing does is basically I'll start by removing all the basic default styles. For that I'll copy it out, paste it. This will remove all the basic styles. Everything's removed, and next thing I'm going to do is copy all the basic things which I need. So font family, background, color, and next thing we need to do is add this Montserrat font. So for that just go on fonts.google.com, and inside this search for this font which is Montserrat. Search for this font and then click on just select everything. So let's select regular one and regular, medium, and let's also select the bold one. I've selected all these fonts, and what I'm going to do is just import everything here, copy this thing, and after this just above everything paste it up, and now I have Montserrat installed on my website. So next thing what I'm going to do is let me explain to you what this HTML does. So inside this HTML I have a view div, and inside this div I have everything. So initially I have the heading which will be the logo or tag. Inside this I have a form, submit form, and inside this I'll type in the locations. After that I have all the details. So these details, the image and everything here. Okay, so let's style the view part, this div. Inside this I'll just write down dot view, and inside this view I'll set the width to 100%. I'll set the height to 100 ph. I'll display everything to flex, and then I'll center everything. For that I'll say justify content center, and align items also center, and I'll also align the text. The text align is also center, and the flex direction is okay, flex direction is column. Let me save this, and yeah, now everything's centered up nicely. After that, what I'm going to do is style this heading. So I'll just type h2 and I'll give it a bit of padding. So padding is around 10 pixels, and let's increase the size. So font size is 32 pixels. Save it. Now everything's nicely looking. And after that, what I'm going to do is style this form a bit. So for that, let's say form, and inside this I have a div called search. So inside the search, I'll give it a bit of padding, so 10 pixels, or let's say 20 pixels. After that, I'll just display it flex, and flex direction should be column. Save it. Now it looks a bit better. And after that, what I'm going to do is style these inputs and the button. So for that, I'll select the input form, and inside this form I have a search div, and inside this I have the input. So input all unset. So what that thing does is basically removes all the default styling of this input. If I save it, you'll see everything's removed. So now I can freely style it however I want. So first I need a bit of padding. Not here. Inside this input I have to add a bit of padding. So padding is 10 pixels. Then I'll set the background color to, let's say, f6. If I save it, you'll see I have everything. And now what I'm going to do is set the color to around something dark, so 22222. I'll give it a bit of border radius. So border radius is 4 pixels, and I'll also give it a margin border of 10 pixels. Now if I save it, this input box looks nice. Let's move forward to style the button. For that, I'll set the button, select button. Inside this button I have the search div, and inside this I have the button. So once again I'll use this all unset property so that I can style it however I want. I'll set this thing to all unset. So after that I'll add a bit of padding. So padding top and bottom is 10 pixels, and left and right is 30 pixels. And then what I'm going to do is add a linear gradient. So I have my linear gradient here. I'll copy this thing here, and if you want to add this linear gradient, you can go on CodePen and copy this linear gradient out. I have my linear gradient here, and what I'm going to do after this, I'll add a bit of border radius. Border radius is 4 pixels. Cursor is pointer, and make the font a bit bold. So font weight is bold, and yep, that's how it looks like. So I have my input and I have my button. So next thing what I'm going to do is just make it, I'll add a bit of animation when I hover over this button. For that I'm going to select the button once again. So form dot search and button, and to add the animations on hover, I'll add the pseudo element which is colon, and then I'll say hover, and inside this what I'm going to do is transform scale, and let's say 1.03. So now if I hover over this, it scales it up a bit, but now you'll see the animation is a bit abrupt. For that I'll have to add the transition. So inside this button I'll add the transition all 0.2 seconds, and let's add ease in and out. So now if I save it, you'll see the animation looks a bit nice. Now let's move forward with the details part. For details, what I'm going to do is, inside this details I have this image which I'll get through the API, and inside this details I have another div which is called weather, and inside this weather div I have everything which are location, temperature and wind speed. So let's style this details div. So to select it, I'll just set details, and inside this I'll set the display to flex direction to column, align everything horizontally, align item center, justify content center once again, and I'll give it a bit of margin. So margin is 10 pixels, and I'll set the width to 100%. Now if I save it, you'll see right now you will not see anything because now I have to style everything inside this details. So initially what I'm going to do is select the weather div. So this weather div, and we'll style this image later. So weather div. Let's move to the weather div. Inside the details, I have the weather div, weather div, and I'll set the display once again to flex. I'll align everything on vertically, align items center, align item center, flex wrap is wrap, wrap. I'll add a bit of margin, so margin is 10 or let's say 22 pixels. I'll give it a bit once again 100%, and I'll justify everything, justify content space around, so justify content space around. Now if I save it, you'll see everything's look nice in a horizontal way. And now what I need to do is add these icons, so place, thermostat, and here. For that I'm currently using material icons. For that you can go on this fonts.google.com once again, and after that what you can do is go on this icons tab, and inside this icons click on developer guide how to implement, and go a bit inside this. You can copy this link tag, copy it out, and just before your CSS paste this link. So I paste it, and now if I save it, you'll see I have my icons here. Let's style this up afterwards when we get the image from API. So I think everything's done with this. Yeah, we need to style it just like this. Okay, let's move forward to the JavaScript part. For JavaScript part, what we need to do is we need to add the API. So for that, you need to go to this website, openweathermap.org, and when you go on this website, you will see this page, and just log in, create an account. So for that, what we need to do is, let me log out first. Just go here, click on create an account, create your account, do everything just like it said, and after you create an account, you log into your account, and after you log in, press here, you'll get this drop down and go in this my API keys. So here you'll get this API key, so copy this API key, and right now you just need to copy it. And what we need to do is, let's just go inside the app.js, and we'll link our app.js. So I'll say script, and the source is app.js. So I have my app.js linked up, and let's start with the JavaScript part. So initially what I'm going to do is create a constant API, which I just copied it from here. So you have a different API of your own. So go inside app.js and create a const, and let's name it API. And inside this I'll create these codes, and inside these codes I'll copy my API key. So let's keep this API key here for a bit, and let's select everything which we have. So these buttons and everything which we need to add in our website. So for that, what I'm going to do is, above here I'll select everything. So let's select the button. So const button is document dot query selector, and I'll select the button. Next thing I'm going to do is select the details. So details is document dot query selector and dot details. After that, I'll select the name. Const name is equals to document dot query selector, and this is the name called dot name. And after that, what I'm going to do is duplicate it 2 more times. So for that, I'll hold Alt, Shift and downward key in VS Code. So I'll get 2 more copies of this thing. And next thing what I'm going to do is set my cursor here and hold Alt and set my click after this name once again. So I'll get 2 cursors. So after that, what I'm going to do is select the description. So I'll say DESC. So I have my description once again, and the next thing what I need to select is the temperature. So let's name this temp C and temp C, and we have a class of temp. Let me check. I have my name, I have my temperature, and I have my description. So name, description and temperature, I have these things, and I'll also select the icon holder in which I'll add my icon. So let's also select it. So let's say icon, font icon, folder and document dot query selector and dot icon. I named it icon. Yep. So I have everything right here. I have my API key and I selected everything which I need. So after that, what we need to do is we need to select this input as well. So let's just select that as well. So I'll create one more const input is document dot query selector, and I gave this input an ID of query. So let's just name it query. So now I have everything selected. Let's start the JavaScript part. So now let's call the data from the API which we are going to use. So after this input, what we need to do is create an event listener. So whenever we click on this button, the submit button, the data is called from the URL. For that, what we need to do is after this, I'm going to select the button btn.add event listener and event listener, and it will listen the event upon click. And whenever I click the button, I create an anonymous function here. I'll use an arrow function, and inside this, whenever I click the button, something will happen. So inside this event listener, this function, what I need to do is first select what we are entering. So inside this input, the value. So for that, I'll create a form and name it query. And what I'm going to do is set it to input dot value. So whatever we type in, I'll get that. So I'll save it, and what I'm going to do is just console log this query. So I'll console log, so you'll see what I'm doing. So after that, I'll click F12, so I'll get these developer tools. Inside this console, whenever I type something, let's say hello, and I submit it, I'll get the hello here. But you'll see we have another problem. Whenever we press something, let's say hello, and press submit, this web page reloads. So we need to stop this default reload. For that, what I need to do is set an argument here e, and we'll have to prevent it from reloading. So for that, I need to say e dot prevent default, and after that, if I save it, you'll see if I type hello and submit the form, this page does not reload and I get the hello here. So after that, what we need to do is set the URL from where we are calling the data. So if you go in this website and go in the API docs, you'll find this thing which is a URL. So copy this thing, and what we need to do is add the API key here and the query which we just set here. So what I'm going to do is create a const URL, and inside this URL I'll use backticks, and initially I have to write https :/ and I'll paste everything here. So after that, what you need to do is this api.weathermap.org data 2.5. This is the URL, and inside this, after this question mark, we need to add the query. So q equals to, I'll add this query here. For that, I'll just say $, curly brackets, and inside this curly brackets, I'll add the query. So whichever city we need to find, and this API key. For that, I'll again say $, curly brackets, and I'll add the API key. So now if I save it, I'll have the URL. But let's just console log the URL. So now let's see what happens. If I search for a city, let's say Delhi, and submit, I'll have the URL. And if you go on this URL and click on open a new tab, so you'll get the data of this URL. So that's how the data looks like. This is in JSON format. So after this, what we need to do is we have a URL, and now we need to fetch our data from this URL. For that one, we'll say fetch, fetch. We have a function called fetch, and this has an argument URL. So we'll pass in the URL, and after we pass in, I'll just say dot then in a new line, dot then, and after that we'll fetch the data, and now we have a result. So I'll just say result, and what we need to do is just return it and we'll say res.json. So now we can use it in our file. So I have my data now. So to get the data, I'll again say .then. Now I have access to the data. So I'll pass in another function data, and inside this function I have everything. So the things which we need right now are temperature, place, icon. So I have temperature. Let me zoom in a bit. So I need temperature, I need the icon, I need name, and I also need wind speed. This one, wind speed. So let's just select everything here. So let's start by adding the temperature. So const temp is equals to data. So the data which we got, so this data, and inside this data I need to go inside main. So dot main, and after this main we need to go inside the temperature. So dot temp. So now we have the temperature here. After that, what we need to do is set the name. So const place. So the place is data dot main. Data dot name. So inside data we have name, we have the place name. Next thing what we need to do is add the icon. So for that I say const here in new line const icon, and icon is inside this weather array. So I'll say data dot weather, weather, and inside this weather the 0th element, and inside this I have dot icon. I have my icon as well. I need to add the speed as well. So const speed is equal to data dot wind, data dot wind dot speed. So I have my speed as well, and I also need to add the URL of icon. So right now we just have 50D. So Open Weather API gives you the URL of this icon. So the URL looks something like this. So I'll just say icon URL, and it looks like http://openweathermap.org. Let me copy it from here. So it looks something like this. Paste it here, and openweathermap.org, and inside this I'll just pass in the icon which I created constant. Okay, so that's how the icon URL looks. And after that, what I need to do is just add everything here from temperature to our HTML. For that, what I need to do is just add temp c dot text content, and set the text content to $, curly brackets, temp, and degree Celsius. So temp degree Celsius. So that's how the temperature is. Now if I save it and let's search for something, let's search for Delhi, and if I submit it, you'll see I have my temperature here. So something's wrong, I think. 307, it looks like 307. What's wrong? Let's go on this URL, console.log URL, Delhi, on this page. Console.log Delhi. Open this link in your address, and the temperature is 307.2. Okay, we need to convert it to degree Celsius as well. For that, what I need to do is after this thing, after API, I'll add one more query. So for that, I'll just say and ampersand shift 7 ampersand, and then units equals metric. Now if I save it, you'll see I'll search for Delhi and submit it. You'll see I have the temperature in degree Celsius. So this is how you change your temperature to metric. So this is a thing which Open Weather API gives you, so you can add it as well in your URL. So let's add after we add the temperature, let's add the name as well. For that, I'll say name dot text content is equals to backtick $, curly brackets, name. After that, we need to add the temperature, the speed, wind speed. So desc dot text content and backticks $sign curly bracket speed. So if I save it and search for something, let's say Delhi once again, and submit it, I'll have, okay, I have one more problem here. So name, okay, it's not name, I named it place. Now if I save it, search for Delhi once again, submit, I'll have Delhi here and temperature and wind speed as well. So that's how we added the details. Now we need to add the icon. For that, I'd say icon holder dot src. So I need to add the source. So icon holder src is icon url. If I save it, I'll have the icon as well. Let's search it. Wait, let's search Delhi, submit it. You'll see I have my icon and I have my details. Right now it's not styled, we need to style it a bit. And one more thing we need to add is, let's say you add something which is not relevant, so Delhi, something like this, and now if you submit it, you'll see nothing happens and you got the error in your console. So we need to add some error handling. For that, what we need to do is, after .then, what we can do is just add a catch statement. For that, I say .catch. Inside this catch, I have access to the error. So whenever you get the error, just alert the user and let's say enter valid address. If I save it, now if I save it and search for something random, submit it, you see I get the error enter valid address. So that's how you add a bit of error handling in your web page. And now what we need to do is style this thing a bit, and initially we don't need to see this thing, the details div. So what I'm going to do is, inside the details div, where is it, the details div, and I'll set the visibility to hidden. So initially it's hidden, so we don't see it. If I save it, you'll not see it. So whenever we search for anything and we get the result, so if we get the result, then set the visibility to visible. For that, what I need to do is, after I get all the details, everything, I'll select the details and then style dot visibility to visible. I save it and search for it. Let's say Delhi. Now you see I have, okay, get element. I wrote it different. I have to add it dot style. Save it and search for Delhi. Submit. Now you'll see I get the result as well, and if I reload it, you'll see everything's gone. So we need to style it a bit. So let's search for something. Let's say Delhi once again. Inside this CSS, I need to go and style these things a bit, and this icon as well. For that, what I need to do is, after weather, I'll select all these divs. So dot details dot weather. After this, I have the div, and I'll set the width of each div to 30%. Display it flex. Flex direction is column, and justify content, center, align items, center, and text align also center. If I save it, you'll see it looks a bit nicer now. And after that, what I need to do is just make this make these span a bit bigger so I can see it. So for that, I need to do inside details. Inside the details, I have weather, and after that, inside these weather, I have all the divs, and inside these divs, I have the span. And inside this span, what I need to do is add a margin. Let's say 10 pixels. Save it. And after the span, I need to increase the size. So font size is 32 pixels. Okay, now it looks a bit more visible. So let's see what we need to do. After that, we need to style this image as well. So what we need to do is just add a background to this image. So I'll go inside details. Inside details, I have my image, and I'll add a bit of margin. So margin 10 pixels. And I'll add a background. The background is, let's say, BB. You'll see the background is now visible. I'll add a bit of border radius. Border radius is 4 pixels. And I'll also add box shadow. So box shadow, first value is X, so 0 pixels, Y value is also 0 pixels, the spread is 10 pixels, and the color is, let's select this one and let's reduce its opacity to something like this. Now if I save it, you'll see everything works fine. If you search for something, let's say Bangalore, submit it, you'll get the result for Bangalore and temperature, wind speed, as well as using the icon. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching.